She had just won the match. Still dressed in her match kit, sweat barely dry and exhaustion written across her face, she walked past her team, past tournament officials, and past security personnel. Without hesitation, she headed straight toward the locked gates where her supporters were waiting. That moment became the true heart of this story. Birmingham, England. June 3rd, 2026. The atmosphere at the Edgbaston Priory Club was supposed to be one of celebration. 21-year-old Filipino tennis star Alex Eala had just delivered a dominant performance, dismantling Australia's Priscilla Han 6-2, 6-2 in less than an hour. The match was never truly competitive. Center court was alive with energy. Philippine flags waved proudly throughout the stands. Chants of Laban echoed from every corner of the venue. The crowd sensed they were witnessing something special. When the match ended, Eala took the microphone and addressed the audience in Tagalog. Maraming salamat sa inyo. I didn't expect there to be so many Filipinos here. See you all tomorrow. See you all tomorrow. 3 simple words. A heartfelt promise. And as events would soon prove, promises matter, especially when circumstances prevent them from being kept. What few people anticipated was the extraordinary impact Eala's presence would have on the tournament. The moment her name appeared on the Birmingham Open entry list as the top seed, ticket demand exploded. Sales reportedly surged by more than 300% compared to the previous year. Sessions featuring the Filipino star sold out in minutes. Not hours. Minutes. Supporters traveled from every corner of the United Kingdom, Scotland, Wales, London, Manchester, Liverpool. Others journeyed even farther. Some packed their bags in Manila, booked last-minute flights, and crossed continents for the chance to watch their rising star compete. The tournament's success had quietly become its biggest challenge. On the morning of June 4th, the day of Eala's second-round match against Russia's Elena Korneva, trouble emerged before the first ball had even been struck. Hundreds, perhaps even thousands, of Filipino supporters arrived at the Edgbaston Priory Club carrying tickets, flags, and handmade signs. Excitement filled the air. Then, they discovered the gates were closed. Security personnel stood guard at the entrances. The explanation came quickly. The venue had reached capacity. For safety reasons, no additional spectators could be admitted. On paper, it was a reasonable decision. A necessary one, perhaps. For the people standing outside, however, it felt like heartbreak. For one father who had driven 6 hours from Scotland with his young daughter, it was not a safety protocol. It was a promise shattered. My daughter has been talking about this for weeks, he told reporters while holding her hand tightly. She made a sign. She practiced saying Laban. Now she's crying because she can't see Alex. The girl, no older than 8, clutched a hand-painted poster that read, "Alex, you make us proud." Tears streamed down her face as her father tried to comfort her, fighting back his own emotions. Nearby stood a woman who had traveled from Manila to London before taking a train to Birmingham. She wasn't crying. She was exhausted. And angry. They knew how many of us would come, she said. They've seen the Filipino community show up before. They should have been prepared. Outside the gates, the mood changed. What had begun as excitement slowly transformed into frustration and disappointment. Voices grew louder. Security remained firm. Tournament officials briefly appeared, moved through the crowd, and disappeared again without offering answers. Some supporters sat quietly on the pavement, Philippine flags draped across their laps. Others pulled out their phones, not to create content, but to document what was happening. Within hours, the hashtag #LetUsInBirmingham was spreading rapidly across social media in the Philippines. Meanwhile, inside the stadium, Alex Eala was fighting through one of her toughest matches of the season. Elena Korneva pushed her to the limit. At one stage, Korneva led 5-2 in the second set and stood just one game away from forcing a decider. Many players would have folded under that pressure. Eala did not. She reeled off 5 consecutive games, completing a remarkable comeback to secure a 6-2, 7-5 victory. "I was definitely in a tough spot in the second set," she would later admit. "But I stayed in there and found a way." Still processing the emotional battle she had just won, Eala walked into the players' lounge. The first thing she noticed was her manager's expression. Not relief. Not celebration. Concern. Alex, we need to talk. As her team explained what had happened outside, the excitement from her victory quickly faded. Hundreds of supporters had been turned away, locked out, left standing outside despite traveling enormous distances to see her play. Eala slowly sat down, her racket bag still hanging from one shoulder. How many? She asked quietly. No one had an exact number. Dozens. Hundreds. Possibly more. But she wasn't really asking for statistics. She was thinking about the people behind those numbers. The father from Scotland. The woman from Manila. The little girl with the hand-painted sign. They came for me, she said softly. Her voice remained calm, but the weight behind the words was unmistakable. They traveled for hours. They spent money to be here, and they got locked out. She stood up. I want to see them. Her team exchanged uncertain glances. The tournament was still ongoing. Security concerns remained. But Eala had already made her decision. She moved toward the players' exit with determination, each step carrying purpose. A tournament official attempted to stop her. Alex, security recommends. I don't care what security recommends. She never broke stride. My fans came to see me. Then she added the words that would define the day. They deserve to see me. Outside the gates, the atmosphere had grown quiet. Families sat on the pavement with flags draped across their shoulders, wondering whether their journey had been worth it. None of them knew that Alex Eala was already on her way. Flags rested quietly across tired laps. Children leaned against their parents, drained by the long day and the disappointment that had settled over the crowd. Some supporters had already started the walk back toward the train station, convinced their chance to see their hero had slipped away. The memories they had hoped to create were being replaced by something far more painful. Then a voice broke through the gloom. Alex. A second voice followed. Alex is coming. The crowd stirred instantly. A wave of disbelief swept through the gathering. Heads turned toward the gate. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. For a brief moment, nobody seemed quite sure whether to believe it. Then they saw her, still wearing her match kit, still carrying the exhaustion of a hard-fought victory, standing just inside the locked gate. A metal barrier and a line of security personnel separated her from the hundreds of supporters gathered outside, but none of that mattered. She had come. I'm so sorry, she called out. Her voice carried effortlessly across the crowd. No microphone, no stage, no prepared statement, just sincerity. At the front stood the young girl with the hand-painted sign, the same girl who had cried earlier, the same girl who thought her journey had ended in heartbreak. She looked up at Alex Eala, and this time the tears returned for a different reason. Someone had shown up. Someone had seen her. Eala stepped closer to the barrier and reached out as far as she could. The fencing prevented any physical contact, but there was something more powerful than a handshake in that moment. Eye contact, recognition, connection. Laban, Eala said softly. The little girl smiled through her tears. Laban, she whispered back. Within minutes, videos of the exchange began spreading across social media. Hundreds of Philippine flags filled the screen. Faces that had looked defeated only moments earlier now glowed with joy and relief. And at the center of it all stood Alex Eala, refusing to leave while her supporters remained outside. One fan summed up the moment perfectly. She didn't have to come out here. She just finished a tough match. She's exhausted, but she still came. That's our champion. The reaction toward tournament organizers was considerably harsher. The Birmingham Open should be ashamed. One widely shared post read. They sold tickets they couldn't honor. Families were turned away. Children were left in tears. And Alex Eala had to be the one who made things right. Later that evening, tournament officials released a formal statement acknowledging the situation. They cited unexpected capacity issues and promised a review of procedures moving forward. For many supporters, however, the statement felt hollow. People had crossed continents. Families had spent money they could barely afford. A carefully worded apology was never going to erase that. They wanted accountability. Not explanations. Not corporate language. Accountability. After finally stepping away from the gate, Eala returned to the players' area. The adrenaline from her comeback victory had long faded. A member of her team quietly asked if she was okay. For several seconds, she said nothing. The images remained fresh in her mind. The exhausted families. The disappointed children. The Philippine flags resting on the pavement. The locked gates that should never have become the story of the day. When she finally spoke, her words were measured. They came for me. The room fell silent. They traveled for hours. They spent money they didn't have. And they were locked out. She paused. That can't happen again. Then she added, not to my fans. Not ever. It wasn't an angry statement. It was something stronger. A quiet promise. The kind that doesn't require raised voices to carry weight. Ahead of her waited a quarterfinal showdown against Thailand's Manangkaya Sawanki, a familiar rival from Southeast Asian competition. The stakes were high, and the tournament was far from over. But something significant had already changed. Not in the rankings. Not in the draw. Not on the scoreboard. Something deeper. Because Alex Eala had become more than a tennis player. To millions of Filipinos around the world, she represented possibility. She represented pride. She represented a community willing to cross oceans, wave flags, paint signs, and fill stadiums because they believed in what she stood for. And on this day, she proved that belief was returned. Not through a social media post. Not through a public relations campaign. Not through a carefully scripted statement. But through a locked gate on a summer evening in Birmingham. Still dressed in her match clothes. Still exhausted from competition. Still taking the time to whisper a single word to a crying child. Laban. By the next morning, headlines were everywhere. Alex Eala refuses to leave after Filipino fans are denied entry. The headlines made it sound dramatic. The reality was much simpler. And far more powerful. She didn't stage a protest. She didn't threaten organizers. She didn't seek attention. She simply refused to ignore what had happened. Instead of walking away from the problem, she walked directly toward it. In the process, the Birmingham Open learned a lesson it never expected. The issue wasn't merely ticket demand. It wasn't logistics. It wasn't crowd management. It was a fundamental misunderstanding of what Alex Eala means to her supporters. Because this is not just a fan base. It is a global community. And standing at its center is an athlete who understands exactly who helped carry her to the stage. Now, the tennis world is watching. Not only to see how far Alex Eala can go in the tournament, but to see what happens the next time someone tries to close the gates on the people who have stood behind her from the very beginning.